Josiah is saying, what is your process to definitively figure out if there is an HOA? It is not always obvious to me whether an HOA exists. I just flipped a property where the only reason I knew there was an HOA is because a neighbor told me. The owner didn't even know, or at least claimed not to know. I reviewed all the deeds I could pull up on the property appraiser and county recorder website, and there was nothing within the previous deeds that would indicate there's an HOA. Once you figure that out, and assuming you're trying to self-close a deal, do you ever run into trouble finding out what HOA back dues are owed on a property? Yeah, so that is a frustrating thing. And I think part of the problem, because like sometimes an HOA can exist between like two houses. Maybe they share a driveway. It's like, well, let's set up an HOA and we'll pay into this thing. So it's like super unofficial. There is no public record of it. And there's not even like a phone number to call. The way they keep track of billing is just on some spreadsheet somewhere. So like, yeah, there are totally times when like you'll just never know, and there is no way to tell. I think probably like at least 80% of the time, there's going to be something in the title history. And the issue that you might be running into is it could be that the HOA was formed further back than your title search went. Like maybe it was formed 50 years ago or something, in your title searches for 40 years, or maybe you just pulled the last few deeds and it wasn't there. And whenever you do a title search, it's important to get like a full abstract of title, like not just the past deed. That's not enough information. You got to find out like everything that was recorded along with this parcel number and legal description. And also it has a lot to do with like how well managed the HOA is. Like a huge HOA will have like its own board and its own office, or maybe there's some like third party company that manages it. There is a number you can call to find out, and it's going to be very obvious all over the place that there's an HOA. But in terms of like a bulletproof way to always know, there isn't one, because there is no federally mandated way that all HOAs have to report. I totally agree. It's super frustrating, and I've encountered it too. And sometimes like an HOA will exist, but it's like defunct. Like the whole thing is bankrupt. Like there is no money in it. Nobody's doing anything. Nobody is assigned to take care of it. So like it may sort of exist in the title history, but like nobody's going to come knocking if you don't pay your bills. And that's another layer of complexity and frustration about HOAs. But in terms of like different ways to like probe and figure out like what is the situation, I mean, one way would be kind of just looking at a satellite map. Like sometimes you can see like, is this a well laid out subdivision? Like, does it kind of look like it's a self-contained thing apart from the rest of the city or the area? Sometimes that can be a clue. In terms of like calling up neighbors and stuff, if you can find their phone numbers, that seems like kind of a not reliable way to do that. But yeah, I mean, talking to the owner, most owners, I would think there's not like a huge reason to lie about that. I mean, maybe if it's like a horrible HOA, or if there's tons of money owed or something like that. But most people, like, I would just sort of take their word at it. And if somebody doesn't even know there's an HOA, and if that's true, I mean, that would sort of tell me that this HOA must be really poorly managed if this person doesn't even know, like if they haven't ever gotten bills or calls when they haven't paid dues and that kind of thing. And I know Data Tree does have a filter that works in about, I think, half the country. So if it does work in that county, there's a filter where you can identify whether it's part of an HOA. But again, it's not totally reliable everywhere. So I guess it's not that helpful.
I would just mention that sometimes in these office hours, you answer a question, it's pure gold content. And like if you were to just take that clip of you answering that question and put it on like a YouTube short or something, or Instagram or whatever, or if we had like a running docket of these, that was definitely one of them.
Oh,
I
cool.
think, I mean, I don't know if you've ever written a blog article, but even if you were to just like transcribe what you just said, it was beautiful.
I thought you were going to, sometimes you answer these really well. This was not one of those times.
Yeah, no, that would be absolutely horrible if I did that. No, that was, I just thought that was really good. Because it's true. It's hard to, I mean, I didn't know that you could establish an HOA between two neighbors and all that stuff. Like that's gold. That's really insightful information.
Yeah, it's really anytime there's a private, something that the city is not paying for, but more than one house wants to chip in together to cover something like sewers or water.
There was a bridge and a house that I grew up in California that the maintenance was shared by the neighbors. But yeah, the only thing that I would say is I'm kind of a broken record. This is one of the many reasons why I always go through a title company, because
Yeah.
I know that certain deals, and it depends on if you do a lot of term stuff, like I get it. But for me, when you got title insurance, if there's ever an issue with back HOA fees, like you're going to be absolutely fine. But if not, and you miss something, that's the risk that you take.
I had talked with my title company about this a few years ago, like this specific question about HOAs. Like, what is the bulletproof way to know? And that was his answer to me. It's like, there is no way, because there's no federally mandated way to do it. Like, you can usually find clues, but there's not like one authoritative source that will always tell you truth. You just have to find what you can. It's another one of those things where like, it feels like it's a broken system. The fact that you can not really know the answer. It's like, why not? Like, why doesn't somebody figure out a way to make everybody report?
They should. They should have a. I think that they should have a uniform closing process state across all states, because they just make life so much easier.